the hidden industry that owns America, the business of private equity. Imagine walking into your favorite restaurant. The food tastes the same, the logo hasn't changed, the employees smile exactly like they always have. But behind the scenes, almost everything has changed. The staff has been cut, suppliers have been renegotiated, every expense has been scrutinized, prices have quietly increased. And somewhere, hundreds of miles away, a boardroom filled with investors is watching one thing above all else: return on investment. What if I told you that some of the world's biggest businesses aren't really controlled by the CEOs you see in interviews? Instead, they're owned by investment firms you've probably never heard of. Private equity firms own hospitals, veterinary clinics, apartment complexes, software companies, gyms, retailers, restaurants, nursing homes, and even some of the brands sitting in your kitchen cabinet. Collectively, the private equity industry manages trillions of dollars, yet despite its enormous influence, most people couldn't explain how it actually works. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful and controversial business models in modern capitalism. This is the business of private equity. Chapter 1. What is private equity? At first glance, private equity seems simple. A group of investors pools money together to buy companies. But unlike buying a few shares of stock on the public market, private equity firms usually buy enough of a company to control it. That control changes everything. Instead of simply hoping the company's stock price rises, they can make decisions themselves. They can replace executives, close locations, acquire competitors, expand internationally, sell divisions, or completely reinvent the business. The goal is rarely to own a company forever. Instead, private equity firms typically buy businesses, improve their financial performance, or at least make them appear more valuable, and sell them several years later for a profit. Think of it like buying a house to renovate. Only, instead of replacing kitchens and painting walls, they're restructuring entire businesses. Chapter 2. Where does the money come from? One common misconception is that private equity firms invest mostly their own money. In reality, they usually contribute only a small portion. The vast majority comes from investors. These investors are called limited partners. They include pension funds, university endowments, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, and wealthy individuals. Why would they hand billions of dollars to someone else? Because they're chasing returns. Public markets may produce solid long-term growth, but private equity promises the possibility of outperforming them. If a firm consistently delivers higher returns, investors are eager to commit more capital. That creates an enormous cycle. More success attracts more investors. More investors create larger funds. Larger funds can acquire larger companies. Larger deals can generate even larger profits. The biggest firms now manage hundreds of billions of dollars each. Chapter 3. The secret ingredient: leverage. This is where private equity becomes fascinating and controversial. Imagine buying a $100 million company. Most people assume you'd need $100 million. Not necessarily. Instead, a private equity firm might contribute only $30 million. The remaining $70 million comes from borrowed money. This is known as a leveraged buyout, or LBO. Debt dramatically changes the math. If the company grows in value, the investors earn returns based on their relatively small initial investment. That can amplify profits. But leverage works both ways. If things go wrong, losses are amplified too. The debt still needs to be repaid, whether the business succeeds or not. This strategy transformed private equity into one of the most powerful forces in finance. Chapter 4. The Playbook. Private equity firms don't rely on luck. Most follow a repeatable process. First, identify a company with unrealized potential. Maybe it's poorly managed, maybe it's growing too slowly, maybe it's profitable but inefficient. Then comes operational improvement. Costs are analyzed line by line, supply chains are renegotiated, technology is upgraded, marketing budgets are reassessed, underperforming products disappear, management teams are replaced if necessary. Sometimes, several similar companies are acquired and merged into one larger organization. Economies of scale reduce costs. Combined revenue increases valuation. Every decision is measured against one question. Will this increase the company's value before we sell it?